Hello, and welcome to the Women's Wisdom Circle. Let me introduce what this circle is all about as we are waiting for more people to join us. I know right now I am in the room with Viviane, and Viviane is in California and will be coming live on the camera in a short little while. She's in the background and not quite ready to be on camera yet. So as we are waiting for more people to join us before we do our little meditation that we always do when we come together, this is a group of women that has been meeting since about close to a year now. We usually meet twice a month and recently we started to meet on the new moon and on the full moon. And collectively, we are coming together to emerge what once to the collective space of consciousness of women. We have chosen to do this amongst women, not to exclude men, but because we realized there was still a lot of healing required in the energy of women. So for quite a number of months, we collectively healed the wounded feminine and worked individually on learning to take care of our needs first. We did a 30-day challenge towards radical self-care to help us towards that challenge last year. And we are individually and collectively finding our voices, our respective voices, and daring to emerge collectively and individually, publicly, our work, the work that we are each meant to do towards the greater good. Because emerging our voices of wisdom to me means not falling back the have to and the shoulds of the programs, of the way it used to be done, the conditioned ways. And why do we want to do this? We want to do this to bring more balance into the world, to emerge our presence as feminine power, feminine wisdom power, so that it balances out the overarchingly dominant masculine power in the world that has created so many dysfunctions and so many inequities in the world. So that is what we are attempting to do in our own little ways with this group. And sometimes more of us join, sometimes less of us join. They listen to the replay. Right now, we are just Viviane and myself. So welcome, Viviane. And if you want to unmute yourself, you can. Or what I can do, perhaps, and hoping that some more people could join us, is just give a link, linking us to our last meeting about 2 weeks ago, where a lot of the talk, the conversation was around letting go of the old and emerging that space of love and self-love, really, allowing enough self-love to be present in our individual lives so that we may ask for our needs to be met collectively and individually, and dare speak up for those needs. It's been a theme for me in the last 2 weeks where I have presenced my needs that I am living currently, which is kind of a difficult circumstance in returning back to Canada and taking care of my mother-in-law with my husband in a house that is not mine. So you can imagine there is all kinds of challenges. And if I fall back into the default position of the caregiver and the rescuer, not listening into my needs, I will lose myself completely and not be able to do the work that I feel I'm here to do in the work, which is part of emerging that different voice and daring to presence the needs of women individually and collectively. So for just taking about 5 minutes to do a quick check-in with yourself. These are, a quick little guided meditation, and then we will start the conversation, and trusting that some others might join us later. So just closing your eyes and taking a few deep breaths in with full breath out. Another deep breath in. Really releasing whatever is not needed right now to emerge that third voice, that higher guidance voice. Taking another deep breath, full out breath. And one last deep in breath. Really letting go of the mind chatter. And taking a moment to connect in with the larger field of life. Imagine our feet connecting to the earth, grounding us, centering us, presencing us into our being. Right here, right now, on the planet. And imagining our connection to the larger field of life all around us and the universe that we are a part of. Connecting to that wisdom, that immensity that we also are. And allowing a light to shine down onto our heads, helping us create that connection. Imagining that light moving down through our head like a central column of light, a beam of light connecting us to the universe, the stars, the sun, the moon, and connecting our feet to the center of the earth. Imagine that groundedness of the light. Who we really are is light and energy. So just using that image to help us connect further into that presence. And from that space of connection, taking a moment to include whoever will be listening in later to the replay of that call. We usually are a group of women from all around the world, New Zealand, Europe, North America, just including them all. And taking another deep breath, listening into our heart, to what wants to emerge today through that space of interconnection. Space of consciousness, always guiding the flow of life. And when we are lost in our heads or in the conditioned parts of our ego, we are not hearing what wants to emerge and be present and be experienced or be expressed. So just taking another moment of silence where I give you the chance to listen in. And now taking another deep breath in, and gradually coming back to your physical body and wherever you're sitting respectively in the world. And coming back to normal consciousness. And whenever you're ready, come back into the room and open your eyes. Hello, and I'm welcoming Fiona in the UK.
Hi, Eileen.
And hello, and Vivian, California.
Hi, Vivian.
Great to see you,
Fiona.
Feeling empowered not to be alone. This is always my worst fears. What will I do if nobody shows up? Since this is really based on free will and guidance, no?
Well,
did you want to?
I thought it was 6 o'clock for some reason, and then I had a minute of inspiration to check my email, and then I found the link. So I'm rushing in from from yoga and beauty things. So lovely. I'm glad I chose to follow my my guidance to be here with you both, and everybody else who join us.
If we could all learn to do this,
yeah,
it could change the world. Really, you know. And this is, for me to say this when I was full of doubts most of my life, you know, and not trusting myself and my instincts is a big thing, you know. I've come a long way to be able to dare that, say that even publicly, you know. So did you want to raise your, did you raise your voice before, Vivian, and wanted to speak?
Yes, I was hoping that I could share what came up for me today, because it's been coming in my dreams and I wake up into it, and I'm not sure where I'm going to go with this, to tell you the truth, but it has to do with being seen. Being seen. And you know that big film that was made called Avatar, where they went around saying, I see you, and it meant so much to be able to be seen, to be understood, to be appreciated, to be validated, to be accepted. And I realize that I get that in my work every day, but as a person, I am not seen. And it pains me a great deal. I can feel the tears coming right now, because I remember coming into the room where my mom would be staying, and she would light up when she saw me, and she would jump out of bed, and she would come and, you know, put her arms around me. And I miss that. I miss being seen by someone who knows me and knows my life. You know, it's. I enjoy talking with you, Eileen, because I see you light up when I come into the room, when I talk to you too, and I feel so much kinship with you, Eileen. And you know, when I guess the grief of having lost my dearest friend, who was, you know, knew me for 25 years and knew my history and knew everything about me, or at least most of, maybe not everything, but I felt with her, she was always guarded, you know. It was never allowing her feelings to come through. And for me, I'm the opposite. I light up when I see someone who is even remotely connected to me, you know, as a friend. And I like affection and demonstration of affection, and I don't have that. Don't have that. And it's un grand manque. it's a big act.
Yeah.
And so I mourn it. I grieve it. I grieve the death of my friend. And grief is also something that you feel better after a while. You think you've got a handle on it, and then suddenly, boom, the world crashes around you, and you're back in that state of grief and aloneness and loneliness. And so many people are lonely in this world because they don't allow themselves to reach out and to find that connection somewhere. Now, I can find that connection in the moment, like with you and with Fiona here today. I can feel that connection. It's just that having it on a daily basis is what I miss the most. And I don't know how to remedy that except to be totally present every moment and appreciate every moment, you know. I give so much love to my kitty cat and my doggy, and they return so much unconditional love to me. It's just not the same as having a human being on a daily basis, to be connected to a human being on a daily basis. And I'm sure I'm not the only person who feels this way. I'm sure there are many more in this world who are alone, who are seeking company, and more than company, who are seeking this connection. So that's what I'm putting out here, and I'd like to hear your thoughts about that.
Yes. Well, what this whole circle was all about for me was me reaching out globally because I felt very powerless to change anything, and I felt also very lonely. Lonely in my awareness and being surrounded by people who are, well, it's a judgment, but still, you know, we didn't have the level of awareness that I had. So I would feel things and know things and sense things that they didn't, and that made me feel isolated and alone. And it was like, I alone cannot change this. I alone cannot do this, you know. And so this emerged. This idea of a hangout emerged from that, helplessness about changing anything all by myself, and also out of a need that I had. So that's what comes up for me. And the other thing that came up with me that had a resonance is the fear of intimacy. Somehow I had flashed when you talked about your friend that perhaps she could not fully see you. This is an interpretation, it might be wrong, okay? Because it might speak about me, actually it does speak about me, because of a fear of intimacy. And the fear of intimacy is also, God, this is a huge topic, the fear of intimacy, you know. We could talk a long time about, but that's just what emerged for me when we were talking. So I don't know if
Yes.
you want to add something to that? Or?
Yes, I would, because, you know, I had no fear of intimacy. I was always, you know, giving and eager to receive, like a child, you know, like an innocent child, open to whatever I can get or receive from others. But now I find that I'm more guarded because I've been hurt so much, you know, that I tend to be a little more guarded. At the same time, I've learned skills about getting others to open up more, to see if we have something in common where we can agree to open up more each time we see each other. You know, I don't do what I used to do, like a little child is opening up right away, and and sharing things about myself that normally would, normally I would share freely, but I see that other people are so much more guarded about their feelings, about their need to be connected in some deeper way, that they don't willingly open up. It's not that easy for people to open up. And I see that happening, especially around me locally, where it's so hard to make friends. And I've asked around to people who've been around for a long time in this area, in this valley, and they all seem to have that thing in common, and that is, we don't have any friends here. It's hard to make friends here. Maybe in the desert, people are more guarded. Maybe because of the circumstances of what is going on in the world today, where people are afraid more so than not. I talk, when I do talk to people around me, they're talking about guns, getting guns to protect themselves. And that's the opposite of opening up and being open to and receptive to love, So it's a sign of the times, I think, that this is going on. People are closing up rather than opening up.
Yes, and I think welcome, Michelle. I just see you have joined us. Okay.
Can you
just to give you the context, okay, of what Viviane was sharing, the need to be seen, and what I'm hearing is the need to be seen for who you are, which is way beyond ego and those conditioned patterns. Because I know you, and I know that's where you fly. That's and that is what is hard to be seen when you are surrounded by people who have a different level of awareness and are still very much living in fear and in protection. So,
well, may I
ask
Viviane something?
Go ahead.
Your experience is very, very similar to mine here in Boise, Idaho, and I'm curious as to where you are, because I've had the same problem. I've been here for 3 years now, and I have one close friend and a few acquaintances, but as far as really connecting with people, it doesn't happen here. And I've had many other people say to me, who have also moved into the area, that they have a very hard time making friends. And I'm curious where you are.
Yeah, I thought it was only endemic of this area, but it seems, it's more widespread than I thought. I'm in California.
Okay.
I'm up in the high desert, which is northeast of LA.
Yeah.
And, but, I go to LA, I talk to people, I seem to be making friends and connections, but they're temporary. They're not forthcoming in maintaining any kind of friendship.
Exactly.
And I was just telling, and I don't know, Michelle, because I haven't met you before, but I don't know how much you know about my circumstance, because I've been coming to this group for a while, but I lost my dearest and nearest friend for 25 years. We were very, very close and did a lot of things together in this area, and she died of cancer in 2 months after being healthy and young and full of life and full of it just never entered my mind that she could get sick and be gone in 2 months. And so I've been grieving for a while, and the anniversary is coming up now. Her birthday is coming up at the beginning of April, and we always celebrated her birthday together, and it's very hard for me. I used to when she first passed away, I would every month on the anniversary of her death, I would do something meaningful that would be meaningful for her, or I would get something to remember her. I was so afraid of forgetting her, you know.
Yeah.
And yet I came to the point where I understood I won't forget her. But hearing her voice with my ears and seeing her with my eyes and being able to get a hug or give her a hug, that's missing, and that will never be replaced by someone else. And at the time now, I've stopped sort of celebrating the day of her death every month because it made me so sad. And instead, I want to celebrate her life. And so I thought, well, for her birthday, I would like to do a celebration of her birthday, and yet I am alone here doing this, and it feels so alone and so lonely to be doing this. And I was talking about connection because that's why we're here in this group, and Aline was saying how she founded this group to have this connection globally. Because, you know, we're finding out, I believe, that we have so much more in common than not. And wherever we are in the world, we're all feeling isolated and alone. And I am amazed to hear this from women who have husbands and children and family, and I don't. And so I'm always amazed to hear that you also feel alone. So I'm going to give you back so that you can all contribute to this, and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you for explaining. Yeah, I started out with the group, you know, months and months and months ago, and had nothing but computer problems for about 6 or 7 months, and so my son got me a new computer, and I hope to be able to rejoin, you know, at this point. But no, I totally understand what you're saying. It's we seem to be so fearful that we're just not allowing ourselves to open up. You know, we'll be judged, or you know, for whatever reason. And I think it's, I don't know what it is about it, but yeah, I have a very hard time really connecting with people also.
Yeah.
So,
It's just, I would like to say something, add something to, you know, like because this is part of what I see we are doing here, you know, connecting authentically based on who we really are, wise women, because usually who shows up is, you know, people who have lived, have had a certain life experience, and have something to say, and the something that we have to say is going against the mainstream, not against might not be, but it's new, like it's emerging. It's not like what you hear on CNN or on BBC daily, you know, which is like creating more fear. It's like emerging something else. And that is the exact thing that I had when I started this. I said, I cannot change the world by myself, you know. We have to start conversation. And this led into, you know, we talked about the wounded feminine at the beginning. We talked about how to take care of our needs, radical self-care. We talked about now gradually we are merging into bringing our voices out, because our voices is our purpose, and how we individually express it. We each have a business. We each do something individually. You know, have our own way of earning our living, and you know, at one point we talked about the structures that are not conductive, you know, and what's beginning to emerge for me, because we talked about, I am very much interested in exploring how could we have a world without money, and how can we contribute to each other in a world that doesn't fall back into the old structures, because it's, for me, it's all about emerging those new structures out of consciousness and listening in. And we as women, we are, I think, more gifted than men to listen in, and that doesn't mean all men are not gifted. That's not what I'm saying. I don't want to create a category here. But the feminine is more in tune to hearing the larger field of life. We had to survive. We had to kind of feed the family. You know, the men were doing their bit, but still a lot of relied on, and we did a lot of those gifts. And those gifts are now needed to create balance in the world. So that is where I was coming from. Individual need, yes, but there is a greater need globally. And for me, the two are definitely connected. You know, you cannot change internally without it having an impact. And, you know, expressing your need. And what was also emerging is like, perhaps you have a need to do something to help you to not be alone on that day, and let's express it. I don't know. You know, I mean, that's just what kind of was coming forward for me. So, Michelle, if you want to speak, or Fiona, if you would like to express yourself, you just raise your hand, you know, and unmute yourself.
Okay.
What came through for me when Vivian was speaking was a telepathy of the fact that I was thinking about the dog and cat, you know, about a dog, and that gives unconditional love. And then Vivian said about the fact that she connected with the unconditional love of her animals. And I think that's what's coming from me with the group, is the synchronicity and the connection we have, even though there are physically only 3 of us here. But what also came from me was the fact that I too, I could understand that being alone, and I am married and I have family, I think when I spend so much time alone, meditating, connecting in my cabin, and then when I'm called to go out into the world, I find the way that I do it is by having fun, and I'm finding it joining yoga, joining the community. Having lived in Malaysia and also Australia, having gone there and not having anybody, you know, any sort of, apart from my husband, there was lots of control issues that I had to take on board myself, and it has made me stronger. So I suppose the other aspect that's coming to me is the fact that the groundedness and the physicalness of having a hug from someone who does see you, who's giving you a hug, and they're not thinking about anything else. It's not conditioned. It's coming from the heart. I think that is very, very special. And I find that I get that from more of the female community. And interestingly, I've been going back and forward to Scotland. My dad cares for my mum, and there's quite a lot of transition and grief and things happening there. And it's amazing, the carers who help look after mum. There's one in particular, and the way she hugs is just beautiful. You know, it's almost like, you know, everything's going to be fine, you know, and it's wonderful, and we have this very strong connection, being able to speak on a level about mum and dad's care that has no boundaries of the fact that there's bureaucracy or anything there. So really that's what's been, you know, thanks for bringing this this topic up, because part of me wanted to say to you was, well, I'll say it now, is why don't you move to somewhere else? You know, if you feel that that's an environment that isn't working for you anymore, there is a choice to move.
It's easier said than done. You can't just pick up and move overnight. It's not something that I could do. I tried to do that last May and started packing up, and I felt so overwhelmed that I knew that I wouldn't be able to do it. Wouldn't be able to do it.
And I also respect your work is very important.
I don't believe that changing the geographical is going to change the inner. So the inner has to really come out, and grieving is something you don't stop just because you move to another city. And you're not reminded of the same person because you're not going to the same places. The grief is within me, and I'm going to carry it wherever I go. And I have lived in 5 countries so far in my life, so it's not like I'm not open to adventure. It's a matter of deciding, finding a place where there will be some people who are like-minded, and that's not easy to find. Aline was speaking about finding people who are able to go beyond the surface connection, and that's what I'm seeking, and it's not necessarily that readily available. I don't know whether it's because it's California or because you mentioned Boise, Idaho, Michelle. So I think it's a global thing right now where people are disconnecting instead of coming together because of the events. The events that are happening are actually created by the minds of all these people in the world. So we have to be able to change ourselves first before we can effect change in the world. So back to you, Aline.
Yes, definitely. The great work, is about self-transformation, and that will impact the global transformation. That is the great work, and that's the hardest, because falling back into the old pattern of trying to control, and perhaps moving is trying to control the situation. Perhaps, I'm not sure, but it could be, And the other thing that came up for me when you were speaking is like everything has its timing. And whatever is going on, there is a process going on. For you, it's grieving. For me, it's different things. It's like the clarity has not emerged. I know what I want. I have the clear vision of what I want. But between now and getting there is a journey, and I'm on the journey, and I would like to know all the steps, but I don't, So it's about learning to trust and not to fall, because for me it is easy to kind of blame myself, judge myself, be harsh towards myself about not having done all the things that I possibly know how to do with my head, like the programmed way of the masculine is very good at that, this is actually a real process for me to be in conversation and not to have an agenda where we kind of tick off A, B, C, D, to really allow that feminine voice to guide us, that feminine presence, that power, that higher guidance to speak through the collective field, through us, by resonance, by whatever emerges through what we are bringing to the table, It's different every time, and it follows a theme. So, it's easy for me to fall into judgment. Well, I really should have an agenda, And I even attempted today in my email to send out something. Perhaps we could talk how we can contribute and support each other to emerge our voices. But I'm really open to whatever emerges, Noticing it's my fear again of nobody coming and not having anything to say, whatever. This has never happened before, There's always been at least one person. And then last time, 2 weeks ago, we were 8 people in the room, So it changes. It's part of who feels called in the energy to be present, and that is part of that larger connection that brings us together, which has nothing to do with the linear structure in the mind, that brings up the controlling stuff, That's what emerges for me, And Michelle, I had to mute you because there was noise coming from you. So if you want to speak, you need to unmute yourself, okay? Okay, so to unmute yourself, you need to go up at the top of your screen and click on. Yes, now I hear you again. Yes.
Okay. I love that you're talking about creating a new foundation, because that's where I go with it too. I truly believe that people need to come together in like smaller communities. I would love to establish what I have a spiritual retreat center, but have it to be a self-sustaining community as well. And people coming in and out, but to have a small core group of people who are just there all the time. And yeah, we're not going to do it, I don't think, by changing what we've already got, repairing it, or fixing whatever the old system is. We really need to start new. And the other thing that I really, really resonate with is that I think that we cannot have world peace until everyone has inner peace. And until everyone comes to a place of, I am peaceful within myself, there will be conflict. I truly believe that conflict will dissolve once people are comfortable and peaceful in themselves. And so that was what I would like to say. So.
Yes, and it's very interesting because that is really the theme of that full moon coming up tomorrow. Balance. There is a lunar eclipse in Libra, and Libra is all about balance. And to have balance, you have to have inner peace. You have to be in balance, and balance of those two poles, the feminine and the masculine. And most women, at least educated, who went to university or did some kind of an education, my generation, were all trained in the masculine way because there was no feminine way of being taught at the time. I'm talking 40 and plus years ago, Is it 45? Yeah. 45 years ago when I went to university, etc. In those years, this does not exist. So we have to transform ourselves, and I think we probably, for many women our generation who did that linear training, that masculine way of being trained, because there was nothing else. But then we also have to do the untraining. And we had to, this has been what I've been busy doing within myself in the last 15 years, learning to let go of the programmed way of how I was taught to do things, and learning to listening and to trust whatever is emerging through my gut, we have been taught, education has been there to program us. Let's name it, let's call a spade a spade, Mostly the education system in countries has been there to create workers for whoever was in charge and wanting it done a certain way. And then you become the slave, the obedient slave who did whatever you were educated to do, and you got a reward, you got a salary, okay, and you had a good life because you had a salary, all that. But this is not sustainable. Sorry, okay. There is other wisdom that exists, that original people had, where there was no money, where the system did not exist. It's a slavery system. We are slaves, and the change has to happen internally. There's a lot of dying that has to take care, and a lot of grieving of certain old ways, perhaps also, before that new can emerge. And it is emerging, left, right, and center. You see it, you hear it. There are many groups like ours coming up and speaking about those things. We are not the only ones, and I have no pretension there that we are the only ones. It's emerging in many different circles. However, it is the daring to speak it, to speak that voice, that will help it get anchored in the consciousness. So you can unmute yourself if you want to chime in. Fiona, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. I love that you mentioned the word fulfillment, because that's what I felt today. The energy coming through, slowing me down and guiding me to look after myself. I went to yoga, then I had my nails done, and really just allowing myself to be gentle with myself and to love myself and be peaceful, and to actually stop during the meditation at the start, Eileen, really just to allow this peacefulness to come through for me. I found that quite special, that you actually just brought that to the conversation, because sometimes we mention these words and we know it's the truth that we have to find peace within ourselves before the world peace, but it's actually allowing ourselves to take that time when there is turmoil around. So thank you.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you. And welcome, Sandra. You joined us.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Have you been listening? Have you been listening into the conversation for a while on?
No, I just joined. I just joined.
Okay. Okay. So we are having a conversation about the need to be seen for who we really are, and to be to experience, to find the inner peace to create the balance in our lives. And please help me bring in all the other pieces. Anybody that I might have forgotten to kind of resume in, because it's an ongoing conversation. Sometimes it's difficult to kind of remember what we started with at the beginning. So you wanna say something to present yourself, Sandra?
I'm not quite sure what to say. I'm just happy to be here.
Okay, great. Okay, so that's fine. And I see that Fiona, you have unmuted yourself. So did you want to say something? Please.
Yeah, I think as Vivian started off, we were talking about this feeling of being lonely, and how it wasn't necessary. You could be lonely within a marriage if you had a partner as well, and the fact that within communities you could feel alone. And I suggested perhaps moving, and I think that took us on to the trail of, looking within rather than moving away. I sometimes think being open to, and I've started to say when I get confused and not quite sure what direction to do, it's like going back to saying, how can I serve? And really listening to the direction. So I think that's when I said about moving, that's the space I was coming from. Just really tuning into, because we are here to be joyful and happy and have exactly what we desire, and sometimes we forget that as well, particularly with all the grief and turmoil that's happening in the world. So.
Yes, and I appreciate you saying that, Fiona, because what comes up for me is like, despite anything, everything that is happening around us, we can create a space of joy, even if it's just like to make a conscious choice to do something that is joyful for us. So, and to experience gratitude for what we have, be it, you know, our awareness, be it whatever journey we've had, you know, and are now able to see things with different eyes, perhaps, you know, I don't know what, but it's like we can always find that, and this is something that keeps on being reminded to me, and I haven't gotten it as a habit yet, you know, to to do that gratitude exercise on a daily basis, you know, working on it, but it's not, or see the space of miracles when, because it's like still I kind of filter it, so it has to be a huge thing before I can say yes, you know, this is a miracle, or yes, I'm grateful for that. It could be a small thing, and that's how you build that new, really, you know, that's how you shift the energy. I know it in my head, but that one is not fully integrated. So I appreciate you bringing that to the circle, you know, talking about what brings joy to you. That helps me, you know, not forget. Because I am very much right now into the busyness and the doingness of everything that I've got to manage here, you know, on top of it. And, you know, was even considering at one point, well, really, you know, it takes me time to do those hangouts. Do I have the space to do it? But I said, no, this is a larger purpose that is coming through, that has guided me to do this, and I'll keep on doing this, come hail or high water, you know, so as long as I have internet connection. So that's what comes up for me.
Well, I'm glad you're
Yes,
doing
yeah.
it.
Yes, and I'm glad for the ones coming in. Yes, go ahead, unmute yourself, Michelle, if you want to speak.
Yes. And I think you've made a really important point there, in that we are so used to being influenced by our environment and by what's going on around us that we have to remember that we can make a choice about how we feel about it, or how we feel about ourselves on any given day, no matter what is going on around. And that, to me, it's like the first step in choosing inner peace. Is saying, I am not going to let all of this, whatever is going on, affect me negatively. I will observe it, and I will help when I can, and I will feel compassion, and I will feel love, but I can't let it pull me down, because then we're just getting all caught up in the turmoil, and it's hard to break out. I really think it's hard to break out because everyone keeps putting the turmoil and fear in front of us all the time. I don't watch the news anymore. I don't even get TV anymore. I haven't gotten TV in years. Just because, not because I don't want to know what's going on, but because it's so incessant and it just brings you down and down and down and down. And I don't want to get stuck that way. And we have to create a space so that we can get unstuck, because no one else is going to do that for us. You know, coming to a group like this group says to me, come here and be unstuck, because we are open to this. But you go out into the world, and it's just so, I don't know, consuming. I sometimes feel consumed by it. You know, not that I can expand into it, but I'm just consumed by it. And so I think, you said, groups like this are incredibly important so that we can expand and we can find ourselves and help ourselves find that inner peace, and know that we have the ability to do that and not just be influenced, but to be an influence. in the world. So that was basically what I had to say.
Yes, yes, exactly. And we really need more voices to influence the world. Because that, you know, the news and all those things around us, this is how we are repeatedly being programmed, reprogrammed constantly, you know, to keep us in that space of fear and isolation where we feel powerless, when really we are not powerless, because who we really are. And that is the remembering that many women, you know, mature women and probably younger ones also, but I haven't had conversation with younger ones, because the younger ones who are on that path, they come in already knowing who they are, a lot of the younger ones, and contributing that to the transformation. There is a lot of younger ones doing that kind of stuff also, not falling into those old structures. However, they are playing out on the news channels right now to keep us reprogrammed. So it's good to have that awareness and to be able to be vigilant and find that space, the choice of staying joyous and connected. Yes, go ahead, unmute yourself.
Okay, well, I just wanted to mention, actually, the reason that I was late joining the call today was because I was on the phone with a young lady who called me and wanted to discuss a spiritual counseling matter. And she displayed exactly what you're saying. She was telling me about decisions that she had made, and she moved, and she felt good about it, and she felt strong, and all of her friends were trying to give her fear. Well, no, you should have gone back, you should have stayed near your parents, and you should have done this and that. And I loved it because she is just saying no to that fear. And she has chosen her path, and she feels confident. And I was so glad to talk to her to get that feeling from her. And she's, I guess, in her late 20s or early 30s. But you're right, these young people have that kind of confidence in themselves that some of us don't. So I thought that was marvelous. Anyway.
Yeah. Thank you, because, you know, we had to do a lot of unprogramming of those structures. And the younger ones can benefit from the unprogramming, the deprogramming that we have done. So that's what I think. You know? All right, we are reaching the hour, and usually I like to keep it to an hour. So if you just want to say one takeaway and a goodbye, and then we'll meet again on the new moon. I think it's going to be April the 7th. Probably around the same time or so, you know?
I just wanted to say before we sign off that I am a Libra, and for me, balance and peace have always been very important. And so I keep my balance, and I keep staying in peace, even though when I'm feeling the grief that I feel, it doesn't take me away from my center of peace. It just I don't disregard feelings that come up because disregarding grief is the worst thing one can do, bottling it inside, and then sooner or later it has to come out. So I allow myself to be present every moment to every feeling that can come up and deal with it and find my balance and peace again. I also have a meditation practice of 36 years and assiduous meditation twice a day. So I do that, and that's what keeps me focused and centered and gets me grounded as well. Because Libras are an air sign, and so we tend to want to just levitate instead of staying grounded. So I just wanted to offer that, and thank you all for being here, and appreciate very much the dialogue, and hope and see you again next time. Thank you, Eileen. Merci, Eileen. Good bisous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Yes, Yes,
Yeah,
Fiona.
thank you to everyone, and have a peaceful evening or rest of day. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. Okay. Thank you, Fiona.
So just thank you. I'm happy to be back and hope that I will be able to continue. Certain days are better for me than others because I have to pick up my grandson from school, and the call happens right in the middle of that. But I am happy to be here today. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for showing up. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Sandra, for having joined the group at the, towards the end. So I don't know if you wanted to say something before I hang up. Just giving you a chance. If you have to unmute yourself, if you do. Otherwise, I'm going to say goodbye. Just waiting one more moment. No, Sandra doesn't seem to. Sandra doesn't have the ability to have a camera, Anyway, I know Sandra personally, so I know what she looks like, and she looks like her picture, But okay, Sandra is not joining us in the room. So thank you, ladies, for your presence and the contribution to the conversation, because it's an evolving conversation, an emerging conversation, and I cannot have that by myself. So I really appreciate, and we're doing it for each of us. We're doing that bit of transforming, but we're also doing it for the higher good. That's what always is important to me. It has an impact for the higher good. Otherwise, what's the point? All right.
Yeah.
So thank you, and speak to you in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Aline,
Yes. Oh, Sandra, you here? Okay.
well, I couldn't get it to unmute.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, fine. So the broadcast is still on. So go ahead and.
Did Vivian lose someone? You were talking about grief.
Yes. Vivian lost her longtime friend. Yes, of 25 years. Yes.
Oh, so I thought, maybe I should talk to her sometime.
Yes. Yes. I can connect you to Vivian. She would love to.
Yeah. I'm actually going away tomorrow. I'm going to see the kids for Easter, but you can always send me the info.
I'll send you her email and I'll connect you to join the email. All right, Sandra.
Okay, take care.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye, Sandra.